There is an example of the ideal doctor. Most of the doctors that have been depicted in the book, barring Claude, I think who's really an out-and-out villain. Do you see that in today's world? Is that the ideal you'd like to represent as to how a doctor should really be, and look at it as a ministry of healing really, instead of just treating patients? Yeah. Something that you believe in, the paranormal and the conversation with ghosts, do you believe them to be part of life? Is that how it is? Is that how it was when you were growing up?
Well, I'm not sure if I either believe or converse with ghosts, but certainly both my grandmothers, their discussion of the supernatural, whether the formal or religious.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Hello, Dr. Verghese, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
Very well, thank you. I can't see you, but I can hear you.
You can't see me. I think they just trying to rectify that. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for coming here today. I'm here in conversation with one of the greatest little giants of our times, Dr. Abraham Verghese, who also happens to be a physician who saves lives and also writes literature that saves many of us at this point in time. His latest book, The Covenant of Water, has been moving process, and of course he has 4 New York bestsellers under his belt, The Covenant of Water being the latest. And let's just deep dive in. I know you've all been waiting. So sir, thank you so much for coming on board and agreeing to do this at the KLF. My name is Supriya. I'm going to start off immediately by asking you, what is the Covenant of Water? What does the title mean?
Well, first of all, let me just say how delighted I am to be joining you. A colorful word. It has many connotations for many people, so that's how we came up with Covenant of Water. And as you read the book, you find that there are a lot of family covenants, family sort of commitments that are either kept or broken. So that idea of covenant comes up again and again. So that's the genesis of the title.
Was it a hard title to come by? Did you come across it? I know it took you 14 long years to write this book. So did the title come across naturally? Did you spend a lot of time debating? Was there a lot of back and forth?
It was. I mean, for most of my other books, I had the title even before I started the book. But for this one, we had several working titles, and then when the book finally came together, I'm not the sort of writer who knows the whole story, so it was only when I was done that and there comes a point when the reader gets to places of the book and they say, okay, I see why it's called The Covenant of Water.
You've dedicated the book to your mum. Now, how much of these places are from your real life? For instance, there's Corumbil, there's St. Bridget's, there's the Estates, there's Scotland, there's Madras, there's medical colleges. All of these places are characters, they speak so loudly of the land, they have their own trajectory in the book. Are these all inspired from your real life? Have you been to all these places? Are they a figment of your imagination? Did your mum help you see this?
You mentioned, Cornwall and the Estates are pretty much fictional, but they're based on things that I either know or have seen. The genesis of the book was very much inspired by my mother. When my mother was in her 70s, Kerala makes it a very different story. Kind of the bit of these spells. So I must say I was very.
People may not actually really believe it, or they might allude it. They want scientific explanations. So when you place such a character like Jojo's real mother, I'm trying to not give away too many spoilers. Please excuse me if you haven't read the book already. When you place a character like Jojo's mother, and she is an integral part of the book, how do you think people today relate to something like that? Because you're talking about your grandmom's times, right?
Yeah, I think them out of the now, either into the mythical and the historical, or concreteness of faith that I admire, I envy.
All the characters are moved by faith at one time or the other. Are you personally heavily moved by faith yourself? Is this an outpouring of your faith into the book as well?
To the times, I think the faith of both.
The condition. So how did the idea of the condition strike you?
Yeah, I was studying the novel in Kerala, and I also wanted to, sort of emphasize the fact that when you have a large community, or a relatively small community, that intermarries, evidence, how much water is really the great connector in Kerala, the great circulatory system that keeps everybody, connected, and the monsoon every year is the great beating heart of the system, and the backwater.
There is of course love, but there is loss and love. Do you see that as a continuous cycle of life? This circle of loss and love?
Well, I think that I hear that a lot, that patient every other year perhaps, because it's not like them. They were much more engaged. They were, on the very front lines. I was more in a supervisory role. So yeah, I think that was clearly the defining moment of my life, not just to become a writer, but to sort of change the way I looked at life as a human being.
Writing is a very solitary process. Usually, you are writing alone with your own thoughts. You're waiting for inspiration. I don't know if you're waiting for a particular moment for inspiration to strike. How much does it take away from you as a person when you're the writer? As much as it gives back to us as the readers. How much of it does it take away? Does it chip away at you? Like every book, does it take away something from you?
Well, every book is an ordeal of sorts.